Welcome to Grown Man Shit episode.
That's not about to be a blooper. That's
Right. Most definitely. Welcome to Grown Man Shit episode 7. Today we are talking about balance. Masculine internal balance with all feminine, balancing that energy and how we interact and match with our partners on the opposite end of that, on the other side of that. Matching our yin and yang with their yin and yang.
How does it show up? How does it affect people?
There was I forgot the second part of that. The second part of what you said. The second part. You forgot just that quick. It went out.
Equal and not the same.
There you go. There you go. And how that leads into male and female interactions being equal but not the same, because we're balanced. We have different energies that we're manifesting. In a healthy relationship, our energies should balance, and if our energies are balanced, we are equal but not the same. We have the same yin and yang, but we're at different points in that balance. So we may balance each other, but we can't do the same shit the same way. We don't think the same. We don't move the same.
But that's not fair.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is always the first response that feminine goes to. They look for it to be fair. And fair to them means the same. It doesn't mean equal. Somewhere along the line, somewhere along in the last 40 or 50 years, I think there was a little girl who was, some little thing I remember from school where the girl was like, "That's not fair, that's not fair." And I don't remember, some little poetry thing. But somewhere that got embedded into our consciousness that fair meant the same. That anything he can do, she can do better. And that was the tagline for decades. That negates balance and it negates equality in place of fairness, which fairness is not balance. Fairness is a brave new world where everybody looks the same and moves the same and acts the same. Y'all know Brave New World?
no. Is that a movie?
It's a book. It's an old book. Old book. It's a movie too, actually. But basically, you have a futuristic society where everybody moves, looks, works the same, and differences are frowned upon. And you can be retrained for being different or having, what was it? New thought or diff speak or something like that. I don't remember it all exactly.
Like the Divergent series. What was it? Young Angst, Youth Angst, or whatever. But it came out probably about 8-10 years ago.
Oh, that was the what was it? Mockingbird clone thing.
Yeah. Just about like, they came out at the same time.
So that's my take. What's your thoughts?
Well, I like one thing I heard newly is when you said fairness, because it got me actually thinking into I heard myself hearing when the response of "that's not fair" comes up, even myself processing, okay, the same as what I'm hearing when I hear "that's not fair," because when I actually think about fairness, I think about, like biblical terms, king's going to evaluate, what was it, half the baby. There's a story in the Bible about two women fighting over a baby. And so how it's determined doesn't matter, but the context being, how do you decide what is actually fair? Each and every person is technically different. So how is a judge, or how does rule, law, whatever, authority determine what is fair? And then I thought about, the stigma. We are equal. We are not the same. It's absolutely correct if a woman and or feminine partner is saying treatment, decisions, whatever the case may be, is not fair. Now, fair is of value, in my opinion. Fair is of value to the equality. We're both human beings. We both have the same potential. To your point and the antithesis of the statement, we're not the same though. So then that fairness has to be calculated based on the difference between the man and the woman, the difference between the masculine and the feminine, to actually come up with what's fair. I never thought about that perspective until you shared it. I always default to hear, oh, that's not fair. Oh yeah, because someone is thinking like we should be the same, and then going down that path. I've never actually broken down with a woman or feminine partner to say, well, yeah, it's not. Is it to actually question? Is it fair? To go deeper into that, because I automatically hear that's not the same. True, it's not the same. You can get lost into something. What's always there for me, I focus on the energies, divine, masculine, feminine. Masculine leads, feminine follows. And I think that core principle is where the mass media conversation, at least, where everyone discusses fairness and equality, no one's breaking down, okay, that's fine. And in a partnership, it won't look the same on both sides. It's different pieces of the spectrum. It can't be just apples to apples. There's apples and oranges in the mix. You have to look at what is fair. Well, the orange is different from apple. What's fair between the differences between these two? Mm-hmm. Professor, what are your thoughts?
Making jokes now. Well, you know what they say. When I think of, because when going back to the first example, that's not fair. Like actually, the first thing that comes to my mind is that, let's say it's a woman and a man. No, that's not fair. I'm like, fair enough. No pun intended. So we splitting the lawn mowing, or you know, like meaning just immediately put the parts in there that aren't fair for. No shit.
Right, like, you're going to take out the garbage now.
Right. Do you want to 50-50 that? You want to 50-50 the next time, you know, we hear something downstairs? And obviously this is just to make a point. But women want men to be men. No question.
When it's convenient for them. Or when they think
for sure
that it's fair. Not the same. When they're okay with it not being the same. Let's say it that way.
Well, yes, and when shit hits the fan, you know, right? And so, let's take the perfectly politically correct man. When shit hits the fan, that doesn't matter to that woman. You know, she needs Mr. Non-politically correct to come.
She needs that masculine to come in.
So, I say that because that's just a very easily killed argument. It's just not a very strong, unless you want to. I don't see too many women on 85 fixing them roads. You want equality there because we can force some women in there. You know what I mean? So
actually, a couple I've seen some, but that's another side. But actually, that leads to the point I was just thinking too, and I don't want to cut you off. I'm gonna get you back to what you were saying, but when we talk male, female, going back to the yin yang balance conversation. I don't care what your gender is. I'm talking about your male manifestors and your female manifestors. Your feminine energy. Those who are strong in feminine energy are strong in their feminine energy. Those who are strong in their masculine energy are strong in their masculine energy. So in this scenario, a woman who is strong in her masculine energy is matched with a man who is strong in his feminine energy. That's a good match. The roles are slightly reversed, but they still fit into that paradigm of what you're saying.
Of what I was saying about what?
About equality and fairness.
Does that masculine woman grab the bat?
Sometimes, though. Sometimes.
But
you've seen that where you see a woman who's like
optimal.
No, it's not necessarily optimal, but it works for that Well, let me not say that. It's optimal for that relationship. It may not be optimal for us here at this table.
Well, the reason I say that is because let's say that let's take that to the most extreme example and say, and just use the energetic example and say that the woman may be energetically masculine and the man's energetically feminine. But there are layers to things, right? And I'll get into that.
Yep.
Which is why I brought up, I just wanted to kill the little not fair. That's not even a strong argument. No. But just to play devil's, not even though, just to go into that direction. Let's say quote unquote works, because then you have to define what works means. Does that just mean that they don't break up? Right. So let's say something does happen and somebody needs to go downstairs and she's the masculine. Typically. Mm-hmm. And there is actually somebody down there. It is possible for a woman to be more well trained than a guy that's not trained. Mm-hmm. Right? If both are trained in this combat, the guy is going to always be better. Like, we're designed for that, right?
All things being equal, yeah.
Right. So, that's just an edge a man is always going to have. So let's say that the woman goes down there and there's another guy and that has to go down, so to speak, and the man is upstairs, right? In that situation, let's even say the woman wins and kicks him out and blah, blah, blah. They somehow, even if they stay together, I don't see any reality. And maybe these exist and I'm just not aware. I don't see any reality where the woman in that situation experience the same level of, I don't want to use the word love or
respect.
Not just respect,
trust,
like
security,
all the things that women innately biologically crave, because there's biology to this, biologically crave. So let's say we take that woman, flip the situation, let's say it's even the same man develops himself to a point where, we're not even going to touch the energies. Let's say it's still the same balance in their day-to-day interaction. Mm-hmm. But when that time comes, at least in the situation where he's quote-unquote supposed to be masculine, he does do it. And he goes downstairs and she stays up, even though typically she's the masculine. Mm-hmm. But in that situation where he's supposed to be, he takes his role. Mm-hmm. I don't think the relationship develops it with the same level of, again, the word I'm looking for is slipping me, but the same level of rightness in either situation. I think they're the one where she goes downstairs, that is a worse relationship than when he does. Even if she's capable. And that's because fundamentally, because we cannot ignore biology for energy's sake. Fundamentally, a woman understands that even if it's possible that she could give it a shot, a man, for certain situations, is more optimally designed for certain things. Can we get an all-woman army to go combat other men? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But we cannot ignore the biological fact that men are better for that. And so women know this, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And if she has to go downstairs, the first thing that's going to come to her mind is, what the fuck is the guy for? If I'm doing, because she can't out-woman her. Never.
Facts.
So utility is an important thing to consider from a biological standpoint when people get together, not merely do we click or are the energies matched. Like, would any woman who's constantly in her masculine with a feminine man, not, let's say she were to encounter another masculine man who does provide all those things that she's like, damn, and this happens all the time. You see it with black women in particular, who have had, or either just been raised in that, environments where they haven't had a lot of trust in men.
Raised in a matriarchal environment, and they finally found a man who...
Right, where she's been, doing her motherfucking thing for years, and never thought and then she runs into a man that's not just masculine, but, and this is the key thing, actually has her best interest at heart. Because that's not, it's not.
And that's true.
It's not just him being
masculine.
in charge. It's
masculine for her.
Right. Where it's not, do what I say regardless of what the fuck you got going on. It's wherever I lead us or however I operate as a man is also to your benefit. So you're always being considered. And that's what safety actually means. That's what they actually mean by security, not just you're a man and you're, it's,
I can beat up the next guy, but do you have my best interest?
Do you have my best interest at heart? And so she knows that in every operation you're doing, every risk you're taking, every direction you're going, she's one of your first considerations. And so then she can relax and go, I know he's gonna go downstairs, or he's gonna go out to the unknown in whatever regard. And I know that with every move he makes, whether they have a family together or not, I know I'm considered. And so that whatever decision he makes, I know the decision isn't purely for his benefit. I know that, and if I need him to break it down, then I'll ask and stuff, but I know that he's always considering me. And that's where that security and safety comes in. So going back to the example, if she's always doing the quote unquote man things, and the man can't outwoman a woman, so where let's use the kids and the nurturing, can do a decent job, but can he outwoman her if she were in the feminine and he was in the masculine? No. So I think they could make it work if she doesn't know an alternative. But I do think that when an alternative presents itself, her nature is to go into the...
That's usually where the balance comes in, though. The balance comes because they work well together, because their energies match, so they naturally align. Now, I think you're right, where it falls apart would be if something happened that changed their energetic perception, where you have, in that instance you described, where the woman went down and the man was confronted with like, oh shit, she went down and did that, I should have done that, and he starts to assert more of his masculinity.
I wasn't even saying he's questioning nothing. I'm just saying.
I'm saying using that as an example, she's still in her masculine,
right,
and he starts to move into his masculine. That's going to be a clash for them, because she's going to stay in her masculine, because that's where her energy is until...
Well, we're saying that he doesn't move. Like, that's not even...
If he doesn't move and she doesn't move, then there's balance and nothing's going to change.
I don't think that's true.
I think, to where I see it going back full circle, what you brought up about biology, it feels like... So I got a perspective in what you shared, where it feels like humanity is at a 2.0 shift, in a way. Not like an upgrade, in evolution over time, because it takes us thousands of years to end up how we are. And that's what's at the core, is that before we could take it into closer to the ether, the energy of where we are today, this soft society, it was all physical. That's all that fucking mattered. There were no conversations for equality. You can't lift the rocks. You can't fight back, go to war, all the things that we need to do. I can't birth a child. Like the natural physical was the 1.0.
And that was
this is how it's supposed to be. As we're transitioning into this 2.0, it is more anybody can do any of the things modern society requires. And nowadays, there's so much automation machines. Women can step more and more into those roles. I think that's where the layers have to be included in the conversation as well, to what you're saying. Because when we can have, like we say, the relationship works for everything they do with finances, household, whatever, all that's great. When the shit hits the fan, when it goes down, that dynamic is going to be obliterated, and it's because of the biological programming is not going to go anywhere. I don't care how good she is with the bills, running the household, being the boss, alpha in any type of way. If that instance happens, respect, security, because now to what we're speaking to, both of those conversations, their hardwired biology is going to be going on the fritz. He's upstairs tucked away, waiting on his savior of a woman. He's going to be thinking, what the fuck am I here for? Who am I? What kind? Like, that's just
he should be. What we're saying in the most
biologically,
in the extreme case where he's like, "Hey, God, my wife is such a mom."
Oh, honey, thank you. You're so big and brave and strong. Like,
man, when I tell you, a pussy has never dried the fuck up so fast. That shit, and then just drive it sealed, like sealed, like.
And she's going down there gripping this bat, like, all right, let me protect my husband and my kids.
Like,
you know, somebody's got to hold this down. Biologically, it's just not there. We can be like, yeah, I make the most, and yeah, I normally call all the shots and tell them to take care of the kids and how to do the chores or whatever. But when it comes back to those just core biology, and that's funny because that's even where nothing to the gender fluidity conversations. That's where they break down. Just the simple questions: what is a woman? If you're so fluid, you can't just get to the biology of it, and that's where things clash over. Even lesbians, homosexuals, like, they're classified by the gender or sex that they're attracted to. If you remove that, there's layers you remove that don't just disappear. Biology is still there. That shit's just ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, you can't intellectualize biology away.
Society collapses. Males become males, females become females. I agree with that. Even if you're transgender, society collapses. You can no longer take those pills. Your body's going to revert back to whatever it was.
Even if you could, like, where... Oh, there's deeper questions into that of where you even fit in, because I don't even think the conversation is so much about how you feel. Great, now you've gone into a world where your dating pool, everything you would want to go for to hit that goal has now shifted. You've changed the structure of that for a subcategory that has to be accepted, because again, same thing, zombie apocalypse. What front line of males being males are going to have? You can have your pills and all the testosterone pumping and jumping, show up to the front line, like, go carry the arrows or the bat, like, bring something to the back of us, but I don't want you shoulder to shoulder with me. I know exactly where we're going to be attacked. I know exactly where it's going to fall. You ain't got the lungs, you ain't got the bone density, you ain't got the strength, your heart's not pumping. Like, again, back to biology, it just doesn't equal, not the fucking same at all.
So, to that argument, I don't know if I'd agree with that, just because I know males that I would not want for that same reason.
Well,
you know, like, I know men who are just, okay, you're not a strong, physically strong person. You know, okay, you're 5'4" and skinny. It's like, you're still a man, you're still male. I'm not taking that away from you, but side by side in a fight on the front line,
I mean, unless you've been
exactly, unless you've been trained and pumped, that's like, nah.
But I mean,
but my point is, I might take that transgender over him if the body was different.
So you take
if their body and training was different, or say the training was the same, if their body was superior.
So you take the woman on the front line over the man.
There are some women I would definitely take on the front line over some men.
Interesting. Because when I hear that, I'm hearing it because what we can't neglect. So let's say, you remember Ronda Rousey? I think that's just the only female fighter I know. So if we're gonna say, no, I take Ronda Rousey over my skinny homeboy from the block, right?
Right.
That's a good comparison, but it's not a comparison that's actually man to woman. It's the highest level
individual
of trained,
to individual.
Highest level of trained woman to skinny, lowest level of man.
But what I'm saying is, even if they were both trained the same, assuming that, I mean, yeah, I'm going to take The Rock over Rossi, but I might still take her over, I don't know.
I hear what we're not saying that every woman is less incapable than every man.
Right.
We're saying that assuming, because we're going, well, the most ultra trained woman, then I'm just going to take all the ultra trained guys, right? So it's about like, okay, assuming bro is skinny, she's skinny, right? Like, shorty. Sure, if we absolutely have nothing else than everybody on the front lines, but you're not my first choice as on the front line for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, this is kind of stereotypical, but if you've seen a woman's fight, like they don't. It's not this. It's grabbing. There's
I
not
know some
there-
women who would take real offense to that, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I'm saying you're saying some women does not mean that that's a good example. I know guys that can't. That doesn't mean that men are. You know what I'm trying to say? So I can say some women and be like, oh no, I can fight. Yeah, you can fight a motherfucker that can't fight. But you go toe to toe with a grown man that can fight. You're not. You do not have the advantage there. I'm sorry. So, like, I don't pick shorty that can't fight versus bro that can't fight. And see, there's like women can. It's like, yeah, you want to use classes if you want to take away what's called confounds, which are when you're testing something, things that can throw off the data, right? It's like a third variable. It's like, well, you can't really test it. We're testing if men and women are equal.
But that goes back to what I was saying about balance.
But that's about the relationship, and I didn't finish, and so you kind of touched on the social part. So there are different planes of interactions, right, that humans have to go to. The conversation is about the social plane, the public plane, finance. What can we do at a job? How do I provide for myself? That is social interaction. It's very different. Right in that realm, that's where the equal conversation is being had. When we go into interacting man to woman, because in the social, they're individuals. You're not really, it's not, when you go to work, the woman isn't, it's not about her relationship with her boss as a man or a guy's relationship as his boss with a woman. It's individuals in a social professional setting. When we come talk about relationship, romantic specifically, dynamics, because this doesn't even apply to friendships either, right? If your homegirl is, super masculine, that doesn't really affect your friendship. But romantically, it's a different conversation. So that's where I think people conflate the equality conversation in the social realm where it's more individual. Can I, as a woman, be a CEO like a man? Absolutely, because that has nothing to do with gender there. That's your competence at the job. But when you're talking about the energies within a relationship, a romantic dynamic, that's when it's like, okay, that balanced conversation is really critical, which is why I gave the example of man going downstairs with, because that's romantic. Their dynamic romantically, I think, would guarantee, if she never, like, if she knew that and she's like, I'm with the beta male of the beta males, and made peace with that, then fair enough. But if that's her first, like, whoa, like, I go downstairs, I don't think, I just don't. I
would agree that most women would not be okay with that. Like, absolutely. I was using the extreme of the opposite balance, and that's where we're having this conversation at.
Yeah.
Most people don't fall on either one of those extremes.
Right.
Most people are someplace in the middle of that.
Right.
And I would argue that for those people who are in healthy, balanced relationships, and when I say healthy, balanced relationships where they found their energetic match.
Compliment. Yeah.
The energetic complement. Where, okay, I know I live in my masculine as a man. I can't be with a woman who's living in her masculine. That's just not going to work for me. It doesn't even feel good to me.
Right.
So I would argue that a woman who is living in her feminine isn't going to be with a man who is in his feminine. It's not going to be attractive to her.
So that's this, and this is where I'm curious, because I know that's kind of established. We need that. So what about the cases? Because this is kind of what we're dealing with as a whole currently. Let's take the average Joe today. Maybe not the average Joe.
Average competent.
Not even competent. Let's say this. He's feminine for lack of understanding. Not even necessarily because if he knew, he would be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's going to draw a masculine woman. But if, let's say, her Dwayne was doing a workshop about how to be more masculine, he wouldn't go, well, don't need that. Right? He might be drawn to that. It's like, I actually want to be more. I just don't know what that looks like, how to do it. Right. And so, then as he, applies the information and whatnot, as you said, that energy is going to start shifting.
Mm-hmm. And if she complements that shift, she's going to shift with them.
Right.
If not, then there's going to be a conflict. Right.
Or there's conflict because with women, they need evidence. So if you've been a beta the whole time, like, I'm not going to just drop my pen. I'm
not just going to trust you.
Right. And I need evidence. And so
I need consistency.
Bingo. And if that's consistent, it's, oh shit, like he's the man now, then but I say that because a lot of the energies are what they are now, and they're getting in relationships that quote unquote complement them. But there's an element to a woman and I think it's more so from the woman's end, because you can have men that are quote unquote feminine or beta or whatever, that are just happy to be here, But women are typically the ones that are not okay with not having their ideal dynamic. And
that usually is what happens. Women will grow and evolve. Mm-hmm. Men find what they want, and they marry what they want. They become partnered with who they want. And then stop.
Right.
We're going to keep living this life because I'm here where I want to be. Women will grow and change and outgrow their man at a lot more often than men outgrow their women.
Or I wasn't even thinking about it from like an outgrow standpoint. I'm saying, let's say that, just take today, a lot of women complain about all kinds of shit. But let's use and men too. I'm not even trying to be funny. But as I was coming out, I was like, actually, there's a lot of shit there. But they complain about men not being men. And you kind of touched on it, where some of them mean men when it's convenient for me. Right. Men not being men, meaning paying my shit. Right.
I need you to pay the bill.
Right. But I want to be a man in every other area. Right. I don't even mean like that. I mean like an actual woman who would like a man, a masculine man, but she's been operating in her masculine. Now, she doesn't understand in these terms. She's just, mom said, make sure you never have to depend on that. So she's not thinking masculine, feminine. She's just thinking, I need to live in a way where if a man lets me down, I'm not done for.
Right.
So that's her core ethos.
Right. I'm the only one I can count on in this
right.
So
and men have let me down and my mom down, and that from a pain lens, right? And fair enough. And so a woman like that is going to struggle allowing herself, unless he's like, evidently like just that nigga, like. But if it's kind of, I'm not 100%, then she's gonna stay in her masculine for a good portion until she feels like, okay, this is legit. But that may be a year, that may be 6 months. And so is that guy gonna stay around to wait 6 months for that, or go find a feminine woman that just gets it immediately, right? Right. And so let's say that woman is there, he's gone, or they've just dissolved for whatever reason. And she's sitting there like, oh, what the fuck? Why did that not work out? Da, da, da. That woman would need to understand and learn how to embody feminine. But it doesn't mean that if now she goes, you know what? Come on, Bobby. Nice feminine beta man. I get to stay in my masculine that I'm familiar with, and he gets to be that doesn't mean that's what she ideally wants, but that would be a compliment. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying from your point of view, there seems to be, for me, a distinct. First, you need to distinguish whether or not the person actually wants to be in the energy they are. They might just be in it from
because they don't know this is who they became, and they don't know any better.
And so they can find a compliment, but that's not even who they would really want to be.
If they were choosing it, right?
Which that's what I find a lot. Like the
which
amount
is
of women
probably
I see.
True for most, especially I know a lot of women who became somebody.
Right.
Because circumstances in life put them there, and they didn't necessarily choose that.
Right. And so I'm saying for those, what are your thoughts on them finding a compliment and that being ideal, which is why I gave that extreme example. It could work in terms of they're complimenting each other, but is that what if she could pick? be her ideal complement? Would she want to always be her masculine, or is it just a survival instinct kind of? Like, are there women who want to stay in their masculine and only be in their masculine, even if they had the choice?
I would argue, to your point, that the only reason they would want to stay in their masculine is they cannot let go of the lack of trust. Like, they could not bring themselves emotionally to let themselves be vulnerable enough
Right.
to do it. So instead of that, they're like, oh, hell no, this is who I am. I am a strong woman. This is who I am. This is just who I am.
If they could choose.
If they could, they probably would. I don't think.
Do you think they'd still say, even if they could genie a lamp up the ideal man that would allow them to be in their feminine, they'd still choose?
I think they'd still choose to be in their masculine because fear is huge.
We're saying a situation where it's not a guess.
Now, if you could snap your fingers, even if it wasn't a guess, because
you can
it's
get
not
exactly that.
It's not trusting the man as much as it is them allowing themselves to be vulnerable. Now, if you could snap a finger and change their makeup, then yeah.
No, not change their makeup. We're saying the trust isn't there because they're not confident they can find a man they could trust. Right. So I'm saying if they could snap their finger.
Deeper than that. I think it goes deeper than not a man they can trust. I think most women I know in that category fall into, I don't trust anybody. I'm going to do it myself because I am the only one who can do it right.
And that's from a lack of evidence to the contrary.
And that's a lack of evidence on the contrary. Well, it's from up until a certain point in your life, the evidence no longer matters. There could be an abundance of evidence showing the contrary. They would not see it because they can only see the evidence that supports what they've chosen to be.
And that's usually how human brain.
That's humanity.
But yeah, okay. You sort of answered how you perceive that. I think they could. If they could, I don't know too many women that, if they could actually, like, I use the genie example because it would be like a guaranteed fix kind of thing. That's like, I actually want to always be the like, and never have that sanctuary.
There are definitely women who would choose that. There are definitely a lot of women who would be like, oh yeah, if I could find a man I know I could trust, that would lead, that I could lean on, they absolutely want to exhale.
Right.
So I would argue that for most women, yes.
Easily.
For most women, yes, absolutely. If they could find a man and be like,
right.
And that's all they need. Yeah. I think most women are waiting to exhale on somebody's shoulder.
100%. Now we know they're outliers for everything. So,
right.
I'm not saying every woman on earth. I don't know the makeup of every woman on earth. So maybe there are women that.
I do. I've spoken to every woman.
I figured. So that's why I'm asking you. Louis GPT, But it's an interesting thing because when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about not just the complimenting, but who they've become through this circumstance. And not, because the reason I have that on my mind is because I'm masculine to a fault. Like, I don't have a lot of wiggle room. This is not how I've been. Mm-hmm. And so that has its pros and cons, but one of the things I notice is that when I interact with any woman, no matter how she is, typically she's always feminine, right? So, because there's only room for her.
Right.
I'm not going to be feminine, so it's either we don't speak or you're going to go into it.
Right.
And so, and I'm not even talking about just dating. Just literally.
Yeah.
And so that makes me think, and then I hear the same comments and things like that. Using your Excel example, where that's possible, right? Even if, again, it could be an 80-year-old woman, it doesn't have to be romantic. And just for a few moments, an hour together or something, you have a very calming. Feel relaxed around you, right? Mm-hmm. Which is her verbalizing the fact that I'm exhaling, right? So it's like, okay, if she ran into what she could trust, maybe she wouldn't have turned out like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm wondering, like, okay, is there an aspect fundamentally that it's supposed to look a certain way? Meaning, women are supposed to find strong men they can excel with and trust, and men are supposed to just be able to handle. Now, you can play in that a little bit, but if all women had the choice and they could all snap their finger, would most women on earth choose the exhale path?
What I'm hearing you ask, the question you're asking is, what does a healthy balance, what does a healthy masculine feminine balance look like in society?
An ideal
In society.
Yeah, not just balance for the sake of I just happen to be
right. The ideal where the female is strong in her feminine energy, the male is strong in his masculine energy. What does that look like?
What does that look like when you think
from a societal perspective? From a societal perspective, I believe female leans toward feminine and male leans toward masculine. I don't know that there's any evidence of that. We've never had, that I know of historically, a healthy, balanced society.
Well, I don't even think balance means half and half. That's not how I think about balance.
It's not even half and half. I'm thinking where we've had a society that took care of its women and men where they seemed to be balanced. And I'm not I'm not an archaeologist, sociologist, so I don't know. Maybe there is, but.
Well, to what Dwayne said, the way I'm thinking about it is not biological balance. Because if we're in the quote unquote 2.0, then we're talking about beyond survival balance, right?
Right.
So right now we're in a shift where men had the lead for eternity as far as human,
right?
You know, and then now, at least in the Western societies, women are having the opportunity to swing the pendulum, and now it's going
the other way,
right? And so, but that's not from a survival standpoint.
Right.
It's from
that's from a fairness standpoint.
It's for it's more from a societal norms kind of thing. Because as we said, if shit hits the fan, then all that doesn't matter anymore. Right. So it's not like that's gone. It's not like they want men to stop being men. It's not like they want their police officers to be in tune with their feelings and, well, I'm kind of scared today, and so I'm not sure, They don't want that when shit hits the fan. Right? No emotional attunement then. So they do need that. When the power goes out and the fucking internet's not working, they want a man's man to come. But we're talking about from beyond just the bare minimum needs. What does balance look like then? Because then there's no, he has to do the farming, I have to do the, you know what I'm saying? It's not just survival anymore.
There's no physical
It's not no
balance.
Physical.
Well, just a minimal physical balance, because where we're moving to today, physicality outside of sports is becoming less and less relevant.
Yeah.
We already don't send people into air to fight as much anymore.
Right.
We are reaching a point where we're not going to be sending people on the ground to fight as much anymore. So physical hand-to-hand combat at a time of anything is becoming less and less, and over time it's going to be almost non-existent. So to me, the ideal balance spiritually, it becomes a spiritual conversation, where it's no longer about fairness or equality, it's about choice. And I think that's showing up in a lot of our societal conversations in the Western world about I get to choose my gender, I get to choose my sexuality, I get to choose every aspect of what I do and am. I don't know that we're quite there yet. There's still a lot of a need for masculine energy and feminine energy. Women can still are the only ones who can have children. You know, there's still a balance that hasn't reached, but I think the idea would be choice. It becomes a freedom of choice conversation.
I feel like so I've been in listening to the discussion and looking for where and how to what I hear you're pointing to is like the unknown of how it can transition beyond, because I'm still, to your question, I believe the answer is no. Like with choice, if every woman given the choice, would they want anything different? I would say no. Okay. And what's there for me is there's still the ingrained biology. And not from even the need standpoint, just the operating and wiring. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that because you have a womb that produces a child, you are in tune to the nurture. You have the emotions, the hormone imbalances, the things that you have to balance and go through. And to the opposite, while
having a period every month changes.
Exactly. And those are the things that are going to be seeking that I can rest and nurture these things that require cultivating the emotional connection, the hormones, all of that being in a healthy balance requires exhale. Requires, like, a woman loses her period if she's training and going to war and battle in stressful situations. To the opposite, for men, same reason I think choice would be no. It's out of whack right now with testosterone levels so low and like just a loss of how to find it, which is
too much cow milk.
Wow, that's why I wave my fucking flag. It's masculine energy, and at the core, biologically, same thing. There is a Y chromosome. There is sperm being produced. There is whatever levels testosterone that is meant to be doing something. Exactly, you can't even say it. Doing something. Mm-hmm. It is there in existence. Women have the other chromosomes. This Y is there for a reason. Even if it's lost, even if it is aimless, the lack of it is what's pointing to what's there. I cannot, and that's that unknown transitioning. I cannot see from a historical standpoint, and even to the society that accesses we want choice, is still a society built upon the choice is already made for you before you get here. It's just...
That's what I was thinking as well. There are things we can't choose, mm-hmm. right? So I can't choose whether or not I need to eat or take a piss. Mm-hmm. And they're energetic. This is kind of a drift from things, but if you recall when I've talked about the three cells, the animal, mm-hmm. What I call the android, the learned part, where all the downloads of your culture and your experiences and your beliefs. And then you have what I call the angel self, which is the soul, right? The part of you that's, the greatest good of humanity and your purpose and your mission and in tune with the all. Like that's that soul aspect of you. Now, the animal and the soul are immutable. Like those are things that you come with. Mm-hmm. You don't get to pick whether or not you're black and you're gray or, you're a guy or a girl. Like, you get what you got. And soul-wise, that's why we always seem to need to discover some of the things that light us up. Because it's like this journey of, it's not like we just arbitrarily pick it. I'm going to decide today that I'm into computers. I'm just going to decide that. And I'm going to like it no matter what. Like, we can't force ourselves to like a thing.
I know people who've tried and failed.
Meta humor is just like, I'm going to decide that. We just have to learn through experience. This is for me, this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. And we're like constantly feeling our way through life. And that's like the soul's relationship, communicates through feeling. And then you have the android in the middle, which is our learned parts, right? This is what the part of us that we can reprogram. All the beliefs from our childhood, all the assumptions we have about what's true, what's not, all the YouTube videos about all the things that we download and we're like, yes, that's true, that's not true, all the politics, all of it. And that's malleable. Mm-hmm. And so that's where choice, but there's also the nature part of us. And so when I think about, even if I were to say, you know what, I'm going to decide to be gay. Like, it's not evident to me that in my core, I'll actually, I may decide, like, but I still like women. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm trying to force this.
It's a choice to whether to not to fuck a man. It's not a choice whether you're gay or not.
Right. That I actually want it.
Right.
And so that's when I think about the fundamental wanting, the desire. How do we choose that? And isn't that what's driving us? Isn't that what's driving we desire things?
Before I forget this point, I want to point to what you said earlier. Perhaps the problem we're having in our society today is because of an unaimed why, an unaimed testosterone. We have all this testosterone in our Western society, and it literally has no purpose, and it's been told for the last 40 or 50 years it has no purpose.
Well, even to that, it is part of its environment, because when the environment there was a clear, distinct need, village, survival, seasons for seasons, years for years, decades for decades, generations, and so on. Now, I would say the environment, because of that swing and balance inequalities and say 2.0 evolution, it is inundated with feminine opportunity. Feminine of, I can Uber Eats my food, I can get a job remotely, if I can pick up a phone and do the minimal level of monkey work, I can find a nice suitable place or get roommates, I can do everything needed to take care of the feminine. What is life? What is my experience? We don't have to cure cancer. We don't have to stop global warming. Like on a,
And as a feminine, you don't have to leave the house, so you don't necessarily have to be protected outside anymore.
Very true. All those things, even culturally, right? As the feminine comforts said in, Ways of Masculine or Ways of Men, Jack Donovan, once the comforts, the walls come up, the us and them has us more separated from the threats and things that we need to survive. And it's inside of the comfort. You look at 1950s, if it was a race to the moon, all the kids wanted to be an astronaut. Everybody was focused on that outward expression of masculine, and actual vaccines, but solving polio or diseases or things that, we need to defeat this to be able to go forward to do everything. With everything, the environment of masculine so prim, plush, and that actually I think is still the natural, it keeps coming back to biology, the way of things. Men boys and girls, all of it is feminine until it's established and distinguished that there's going to be men and women. Children are automatically in their feminine, boys and girls, till they develop, till they take on the masculine traits being developed. Society as a whole has no catalyst or stimulus. You are just as much of a man as long as you can make the dollars and zeros to get a partner, to have your dwelling, to have your safety, to do these feminine checkbox things. There's no, we don't give you
100 pounds or 500 pounds, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Your fitness to live beyond 60 years healthily, your mental capacity to contribute something to society that betters your community or our survival as a species. None of those things are required. You can show up and get your clout, chase your social proofing or whatever it is that drives you, and that's it. Sit around and play video games, watch YouTube videos, like whatever has you comfort, watch podcasts and shit, and just think all the time up in your head.
Watch podcasts.
There's no requirement for you to do anything forward. I'm not even sure where the thought started, but that's what I hear overall, is that missing catalyst for, as you said, aimless masculine. Until masculine's called upon it, it's fucking dark night and shit in the shadows. Like nobody really is just as a large tapped into, and it gives all these. It's a root cause that has so many symptoms coming up to what we were talking about, relationships and dating. Because I love what you were saying. A masculine man rarely, I won't say encounters, engages. is engaged by, attracts, or ends up, I would say, my experience at least, with non-feminine women. Even if, you can recognize, oh, this shit you just wanted to do. It's like there will be a repelling and loss of attraction before it becomes, oh, we've been dating, we've been talking, and he's not going to deal, a masculine man is not going to deal with weeks or months and dates of she's bucking back, doesn't want to follow anything or go along with his path. And the woman's not going to go along to the point of giving all the instructions, initiating all the advances, and setting up all the things because she never gets the rest. She's running the show the whole time. I feel like when the energies are there, it is naturally going to, and I really like what you're talking about because the dynamic of any woman, and it can happen so quickly. It's subtle cues that either go back to daddy, ideologies, something in their head. But as soon as a woman can find that trust or a breath of fresh air, it can be the smallest thing. Be on an elevator, give somebody directions. Oh yeah, go to the third floor and go up to the left. Like that will. Oh, I'm gonna trust that. Let beta guys. Well, I just got here. I think it said down. I looked at a sign back there. You can try, but if that doesn't work, and let me go find the concierge or something. Like there's just not that rest. The competency doesn't show up. The masculine is not catalyzed. So one of the distinctions I have is for men and women, feminine is a catalyst for masculine. It causes masculine of, oh, we've got this womb, we've got these women, we've got these children, we've got this thing to protect, this way of life. There's something worth. Masculine can go out and just have war and fuck everybody over and, expand the territory, but get bored with that. Why the fuck would we? Because masculine functions out of utility. What is the point of having thousands of acres that we now have to tend, that we now have to protect and all this? Shit, I just want to kick back and have these women over here, over by the oasis, and I'm good. Like, we can be fine.
Play video games and...
Exactly.
Fuck when I want to.
That tangent of sorts. But I keep coming back to those naturally ingrained things. And I will say to the larger conversation of like society is pointing out the problems, it occurs to me as just a misunderstanding of biology, one, just the core things of where we started, and translating it to what has become such a energetic, because there's absolute benefits in the equality. You now have the ability where men don't need to do all the things that men don't need to do, which actually would open up resources for men and or masculine energy to be doubled down into those things, to do something that is worthwhile for doing. It just has to be caused. With that, you got to have a balance behind of, okay, if we're going to go and do that shit, let's recognize we're equally, you can take care of this over here. As we go and do that shit, I'm going to need something that makes it worthwhile. Again, masculine to the same thing. What are we doing it for? Even if aimless, men and or masculine that aren't pushed as a why go be a better man if all you have modern women or bitches or whatever the perspective is, sit to the same regard. We're just talking about the feminine. You can't trust men, so they never relax. If men are in a space, even if it's because they don't distinguish masculine, man, grounded leadership, any of those concepts, if it still just occurs, why am I going to go work, date, entertain women to just be taken advantage of, divorce, raped, or whatever? So
they can try and take all my money or time or house or...
They don't take it on. Not
complain or
even
whatever.
If they don't see, if you showed up as a full man, the women you will experience, engage with will be completely different and worthwhile. It takes the lead first. But again, if lost, if aimless, if not distinguished, nothing catalyzes anything. It's all just what the fuck it is now. What they say, piss in the dating pool.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
Shotgun approach. Something I was going to say to that.
You went back to my point. We were always talking about something that you're pointing to or responding to.
I don't know. We kind of went all over the place.
Yeah. Well, not in like this all over the place. More so to your comment about I had something, but I don't remember what the thing was. I heard it and it triggered the thing that I was going to say, but I can't remember what the thing was. Talked about society and it's there. I just need to hear something that would be like.
One of the things I was going to say is to the point of the ideal balance, what that would look like.
In a
You
relationship.
point in society.
I remember what it is now.
You actually pointed to it. What's missing in our society right now is masculine direction. Like as on a societal global level. Even in our industrial age society, up until recently, we've been moving towards something. We've been fighting for something. World War II, they were fighting for something. African Americans were fighting for something. You know, we were arming up. Black Panthers, hell, the Guardian Angels. Everybody was fighting to protect. Men were stepping up to protect what was theirs.
You said it perfectly on a global level. The presidents of that time, you could look at whatever war, whatever campaign, the moon, anything that they were up to.
Yep.
Just saw on the news today, it's all the big hype, and the news is following the brigade convoy. Trump is going to court to deal with his personal issues.
Trump is going to court.
What's he going to expand? Nothing. It's
But
bullshit.
to that point, there is a whole bunch of masculine lining up behind Trump because they have nothing else to fight for. They got nothing else to fight for. I was talking to somebody, a sister.
He creates an excellent us versus them narrative.
He really does create an excellent. But I was talking to a sister, and two of us were from New York. She wasn't from New York, and we were talking about Trump. She's a pro-Trump supporter, and like we grew up with Trump. If you're from New York, you grew up with Trump, right? And there is nobody in New York who believes that Trump is not a con man. You just can't. Because I've watched Trump for my entire life. I was in New York when the Trump Towers went up. I read his book. I owned his book. I bought a game he had years ago. Like, I was way into Trump. The one thing I'm very clear on is he was never an honest man. He was not somebody I would follow. He was somebody I was going to learn from, take his tools and say, okay, you went to real estate. Let me see what you're doing. Oh, I can't really do that because you kind of had $1 million head start. But I learned what I could from him and moved on. And then years later, people are following him like he's God and is completely honest. And I'm like, anyway, my point is, masculine is lining up behind him because they have been completely disenfranchised. The contingent of masculine that's lining up behind Trump has been disenfranchised and has been given no lead in our modern society. So now they have this guy that they can follow. Oh, I'm going to follow him. I got this guy. This is the guy. This is where I'm hanging my hat. You know, they at least have something they're fighting for. Most other men, they got shit they're fighting for.
I would say culture and society, nature will swing it back in the way.
I agree with that.
COVID balancing it out, because I mean
I
there
would agree
is
with that.
a war going on.
There is
been
definitely
over
a culture
year
war.
at this point that not even culture. I mean over in the Ukraine. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what is that? I forgot who said it. We look back, we see the history books. It was Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, when we start paying attention, and it was a world war. Things happen, transgressions happen up into that, and the rest of the world does what they do and whatever they report in the books. Whoever wins tells the history.
Right.
But to that point of aimlessness,
And that's sad because World War II started off probably not much different than the Ukraine and Russia right now.
nowadays,
Except
that
Russia
country-
was Germany and Ukraine was, Poland or wherever.
You came back to your thought.
All right, yeah. It was about, because I was thinking, okay, well, the masculine roles are purchasable now, right? So, purchasable doesn't mean because you don't really purchase the police, I guess, with taxes, but it's
Personal security.
it's that's not what a woman is thinking in her mind in terms of like, can I live by myself? Can I not? I need a man so he can, on some level, but there's an element of You know, the hunters, Walmart. You have, you know, police. Have, you know. So a lot of the ultimate masculine is the government now, right? In terms of all the things, society, all that.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of like when a woman is thinking about her experience day to day moving through the world, there's a fundamental thing of the government will like the ruling land I'm in.
The land of the free, home of the
The
brave.
government will protect me on a larger scale.
Right.
They still require protection on a smaller
Obviously.
scale. Now, some of them, and this is, and anyway, finish your point. I'll get back to it.
Yeah, because it's not about the semantics of the
Right,
nitty gritty. Right. Obviously, every woman would ideally want their or her ideal, but there's a fundamental assumption that if shit hits the fan, there's a police. Right. If there was no police whatsoever, women's relationship with men here would be very different. Would be way more valued. Right. Because it's like there's no safe neighborhood with gates. Like all those things operate as men without saying it directly. But that's not even the point. Now, I say that to say and give context to. So that's all well and good because these are good things, and that's only going to grow more and more. Then it's not like, well, at least the aim is not to go back to the wilderness, you know, where it's more overt what the masculine is for. So if we're at a state where a woman can do everything a man could have done, I can get my own food, I can make my own money, I could have yet still want men and men, myself, still get all the benefits that I would have gotten if I was hunting. Like literally, even though I'm not praying for her stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I started to think, well, what is it at the root level that a man needs to aim at? And what is a woman looking for that no matter the social context, this will always be her North Star in looking for a man. And I think if we establish the fact and agree to the fact that women tend to want to date up, or at least parallel, but I don't think it's actually ever parallel. It's up. It's always
Absolute up.
In whatever way she values, right? Because you have a woman that values value hierarchies always matter. Like if a woman values intellect, then her money value for a man might not be as high as a woman who values finances or values body types, and you know, so the value systems vary woman to woman, but whatever that highest value is in herself, she typically wants her man to be better. And I say that because, well, I'm thinking like I think what women fundamentally want and what men can aim at is they always want to know that they always have the option for the exhale. She wants to always have the option. In most situations currently, they don't feel like there's a choice. So women, unlike men, can dip in and out of the masculine and feminine without consequences. Not any real consequences. Men, when you dip into the feminine, there are consequences.
There's consequences to dipping into the feminine, agreed.
So it's not as, it's just reality, right? It's just, I'm a boss bitch today. Please, oh daddy, can you cook? You can jump in and out. A man, mommy, done.
Yeah, no.
Done.
Hey y'all, I'm on my soft life.
Done.
I'm having a soft day today.
Done. Done.
All right, bro.
Done. Immediately. Right? And so, just know she hunting after that. She's wandering now. Just know that. You might not know yet, but you'll know in a couple months. Right? So, it seems for a woman there needs to always be like, she needs to always
underline to that last point, what that is the perfect example of biblically point out helpmate. Because she can do that. There's a difference in I got this dream, I got this vision. This is going to set us from making 6 figures to 7 figures. And I've got to go into the cave. I've got to go I got to go overseas so we can get some tax-free money to the side or whatever. She can step in because she's capable, equal. She can do that thing for a vision that expands them into more, supporting and following that man. There's a difference in that. Baby, I want 6 months of soft life. I've just been working too hard.
Right.
You hold it down for me.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I need a vacation.
Right. Now you've taken.
Can I be a stay-at-home dad for a minute?
Exactly.
Taking away the exhale option, and
Right.
it's not her choice. It's not like, oh, he got hurt, and like women aren't. Just
They'll
cold.
support you if something happens.
Yeah,
Right,
like
right.
if it's out of your control. They're human. They're gonna understand. I'm gonna, most cases, or hopefully most cases, right? You do have cold. Fuck him. He's not, whatever. But in most cases, a woman's compassionate nature is gonna understand he's down, and. When he gets back, I know he desires that. And it's a different thing if he's like, oh, well, shit. I've just given up on life and you need to take care. Like, that's a different conversation. But if it's, I know he would be doing his thing if he could, but hurt, whatever, hospital, I'll try to do my best to handle it because I love him and care.
But no, there's a time limit on that.
There's a time limit. Fair enough. Fair enough. But, at least it won't come from the lens of, oh, he can't physically do it, then fuck him.
Yeah.
It's not that black and white, but she does always. Cause I'm like, what is the woman with everything, quote unquote, in the world? She still fundamentally wants the option to be a woman when she wants to be a woman, and what being a woman means. Daddy's gonna take care of this, right? And so that may mean money. Because even if a woman is like makes $1 trillion, like I always say, it's not even that the man has to make more. He just needs to. Not have to. What I've noticed women say is like he can, if she's going to Dubai to spend a bunch of money, even if she makes more money than him, ideally she wants her man to have the capacity to join, even though she still wants him to pay for it. But she wants him to have the capacity, or if worded differently, she doesn't want to not be able to do it because he can't.
I actually think it's that, and she doesn't want to have to choose.
Yeah, I think that's
She wants the man to choose. She wants to have choice taken away from her. Not taken away from her, but she wants to relax so that exhale into letting him be the lead, letting him choose. Where even if she's paying for Dubai or paying for part of the Dubai, even if she's making all the money,
right.
He will still choose, we're going to Dubai.
Right.
I know you want to go to Dubai. That's on your list. That's what we're doing. We're going to Dubai. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. She doesn't have to think about it. He's got that handle. Even as much as, that old cliche of what do you want for dinner? What are we going to eat? And she's like, everything he lists, she's a no to. What I think she's listening for is, how well do you know me? How well can I trust you? How well can I let you choose for me?
Well, women do have a thing about liking a man to just know the answer to things.
just know the answer to things. So,
in regard, remember that. I won't say it on the podcast. Remember that story I was telling you the other day. That's a little more explicit, but more or less in the sexual realm, they wouldn't even want to. If they could choose,
they want you to choose.
Well, not just choose. They want you to know,
right.
If you give her the choice to be like, tell me all the buttons on your fucking remote, and you just knowing what buttons to press, it's not even a contest. It's not even a contest. They want you to just magically know.
Yep.
Everything, right? And it is what it is, right?
And it's good sometimes, and it's frustrating sometimes, but it's like...
It comes with the territory, right? But it's a woman thing. Like, they like to feel understood without them saying it, which is why they're so passive-aggressive, right?
Right.
They know, they know, they know, they know, but they want to
you're
feel...
supposed to know.
But they're doing everything to make sure you know. Trust. Everything but tell you.
Everything but tell you,
right.
Yes.
So you'll know. They'll make sure of it.
Feminine is the experience, the what is life. And so some point that you were making, I think about the finances or something to it. It's always, it's a feminine energy. There's the outliers up there for men and women. And for feminine energy, it is always the experience of what is life. The experience of being taken. I have the money, and so perfect. If you have all the money to experience everything, it means that much more when a man, like you said, is competent and capable to do something that she doesn't have to think about. It could be a $50 meal, and that here's your plate, dinner is served, taken care, being treated, pampered. It's the experience of getting. She can go buy it. Exactly. She
now I'm exhaling,
taken care of.
Knowing that he thought about me, you know, like you actually put time and thought. I don't care that you gave me money. I don't care if some women. I don't care what you did. I care that you actually thought about me and took action on that thought.
Here's to go deeper down the rabbit hole just for the fuck of it. Here's the deeper, crazier part, what I'm present to, is that the entire spectrum is of value because of the opposite of that. You thought about me, you knew me. You didn't think about me and know me, and all the scorn that will come from that. There's also the you didn't think about me or know me because I'm not good or qualified enough. Let me step up and do something more. That is a perspective just as well. Because that's the whole fucking range. It doesn't make any damn sense. And all of those scenarios to a woman, in the circumstances, what is life? This man that I want, this man of value, this man that has the capacity, there is still a scenario where she can take it as, because it didn't happen, there's a feminine experience. Oh, because I'm not attractive enough, or I've seen them do it with these other women over here. I've seen them pay attention.
Them differently. Why?
Oh, I'm gonna ante up, but let a simp guy come through that doesn't have that demonstrated capacity, not get it, not click, not figure it out, and it's a problem. And that's so interesting because I do see that dance can come up. Depending on for the right man, what do they say? When all the complaints are coming out, it's the busted dusted, it's the men not showing up, it's the betas, whatever the case. And when a masculine man does, the entire game flips on his fucking head because the value is out there. He's got this, that, like you said, to each woman what she values. If it's finances, if it's intelligence, if it's physicality, if it's resources, whatever. When that masculine man shows up and they want to be on board, they're already following in some context. Those are the rare cases where feminine will look to self. What am I not doing to get on that boat? What have I missed the mark on? Like those, when a masculine man shows up, feminine women around that man are hypercritical to themselves. Why didn't he make the move? I'm not, even if they negatively respond, it can be, I wasn't attractive enough or something to themselves. That's my experience where I say I don't get the, women fall into their feminine around. What they're always wondering is the worst case negative scenario, something that they had. When he didn't respond to this and say that, like, I was thinking about what I did wrong or what I didn't say or that, so the other. And to that, we were talking about something earlier. I was actually thinking, because it was talking about we talked about it, wanting to pay for right up front. Like there's a series out there, people, Atlanta is, I guess, the hot spot to point out the things that show up. And so they're actually showing live conversations where women are looking, I got this bill coming up, like within first date context, talk about a bill is coming up. And it's so interesting because that is how quick, because a woman has the intuition to know that is not the shit you bring up to the man that you want to follow. The man that has the resources to take care, you may finesse and get to that conversation. That's not a date one. Hey, I got to pay my rent this month. That you disqualify yourself, and she knows that.
Right.
Going to the other conversation, Red Lobster, Applebee's, whatever, sitting down date one to that. Hey, you need to come correct. I'm giving you a chance to get access to this or something.
Because I know that you're not even qualified. You're lucky to be. But because putting it in a sentence, I want to say, just because it'd be short. Because I experienced that dynamic. There is how I move through the world. It's literally inconceivable to think of a woman that because I'm with her, I'm more than I am. And doesn't mean that she can't enhance me. It means that I'm not oh, you see this with me, man? Like, I don't perceive myself as more, no matter what she looks like, no matter who she is, status, like I'm so aware of my worth that no woman's beauty is ever gonna make me feel like more of a dog than I am now.
No one is anything.
But nothing.
Yeah.
But your beauty's usually the average guy. Oh my, I pulled this bad bitch. You know what I mean? Like, of course, who is she gonna? Well, who else are you gonna go with? Right. That's how I think about things, and I say that because when a woman perceives the dynamic as wow, she's not gonna verbalize it until later, but I haven't run into a guy like this in so long. And it's not that women don't have access to a lot of men. They just have a lot of access to men they want. Right. And so when they run into something they want, it's actually a rare thing. For us, it's get as much variety of pussy as we can. It's more variety and numbers.
We want the variety of feminine energy.
Right.
We want all different kinds. We want it all.
And for them, it's more one best. And so they're constantly sifting for the best. You know, I kind of like him, but I'm not. And then she runs into, oh, he just gets me. He just gets me. Oh my God, I feel so different around him. And that's when that I can't risk losing him by having no bills conversation. Shit, let me pay your price. You know what I'm saying? Like, because she's, for the first time, I don't want to lose this feeling that I have when I'm in this man's presence. So. But yeah.
And if you're a good man, what I was going to say, if I sit down with you at that first meal and I see you're an expense.
I mean, yeah, obviously. Any guy with any self-worth, yeah.
It's not. But to that point, there's men who are on the opposite side of that who are like, I don't give a fuck, I'm not looking for the one. I'm looking for the one right now. And this is a transactional situation.
Fair enough.
I think it's still...
Here's your electric bill. Come home
Fair
with
enough.
me.
Even to that, it still comes down to the value. Because...
On her end, for sure. But in his mind, he's already deduced himself to... reduced himself to...
That's what I would have to say. Because it's as free as water. So... I guess it's hard... You always say, like, it's hard to fathom and contemplate. If it becomes transactional, that is because, as it occurs to me, there's already a loss of value. I have nothing to bring to no conversation, and you said it perfectly, to how she feels what is valuable to feminine in that man's presence. If a man has no grounding, no value in himself, he has to bring money to the table. He has to bring something to offer in exchange for, because a masculine man in his value, I'm here. There's the value. Enjoy my presence. Enjoy the safety. Enjoy the exhale. And I do totally understand that there is the caveat for men because of the variety, because of the simplicity. And I grapple in my own mind where to even find that bar, because it's as free as water. 5 minutes.
You're talking about with paying for stuff?
Yeah, to need to exchange the transaction.
I never thought about why that doesn't sit well with me. I mean, I never critically thought about it in why not just, I don't know. I mean, even in sex as a whole, if I'm not clear that the woman is not just open, but it's gonna be a drop of water and she hasn't drank water in 2 years. You know what I mean? Like that level of desire, then I'm not even, so I don't know if that's just a self-image, pride, or I don't know. I've never critically thought. I'd have to think that through.
I think so.
Why not just, if it's for simplicity? But I wouldn't enjoy it. But I don't know why I wouldn't yet. Like I'd have to really. I don't want to just throw an answer out.
I'm clear that I would never pay for it, and I'm also clear that I would never pay for sex, and I have paid for relationships.
Okay.
If that makes any sense, I've paid for. Indirectly for women.
Is it the perceived value that the women bring into your life?
It was a perceived value. It's like, okay, we're building something here. You have a need. I got you because I'm trying to make you something else. And at the time, I was too young to realize that, like, okay, this is a money situation. This is why you're here.
Oh, you're saying that that's not something that you'd ideally
Now,
want to do.
ideally, what I was going to say is, ideally, I would not pay for a professional. Like, I wouldn't get a pro
I see. Okay.
and just pay.
It's a professional. Oh,
Like, that
she's a
doesn't...
professional woman. She makes her own money. I'm not. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, so she needs to be like a McDonald's.
She needs to be a McDonald's worker.
If she ain't from McDonald's,
Starbucks, maybe.
every day Lewis goes on. What do you do? McDonald's. Like,
Oh, you're the one.
everybody from McDonald's. Like, it's weird. I keep meeting women from McDonald's. It's like, did you share the podcast? I did.
Yeah, right?
I wonder what happened with that.
Super smiling.
But my mindset has always been, I would get too much into why they were there. It would bother me that, like, the way I grew up, I don't have it like women who do that are doing it from choice. You know?
Oh, you mean from being pro?
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, it's not a, and I'm sure there are women who do it for choice, but that's not how I always understood it. So for me, I'm like, I didn't, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation with you.
For lack of a better word, where is or does that brush up against in context like a bar for? I mean, for lack of a better word, just simply the context of date one, or even like you said, the example you're talking about transactionally. If I can just take care of this and that opens up the access to the door, is that in your realm, or was it always in a context of I saw for something more that I want? Relationship, quality woman, and I don't mind helping out, generate, or is it a, well, you know, day one she let me know?
Oh no, I don't do that either. And as a matter of fact, I've had women who would, I've literally had women offer me sex for money, and I'm like, no, for people I knew, and I'm like, here's the money. I don't.
Oh, you mean like she's like, I'll give you these benefits if you just help me out with this bill real quick.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. That kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not who I am. I'm like.
But I mean, I'm thinking about why that's not, because as I'm thinking about it, I'm like.
It has for me, it has no honor.
Well, honor. I mean, I don't think about honor with stuff like that. You know what it is, at least as I'm understanding it, it's, I think a guy who can do that is just, because I have to like, okay, well, what is sex for me? Is it just dick going in pussy? And then the answer is no, because if it was, then that would be sufficient. It's efficient. It makes the most sense. But sex is not just sticking your dick in a random hole. It's the consciousness that you're bonding with at that time.
There's an energetic exchange there.
Not just the energetic exchange, but at least for me, and I'd assume most men, they'd prefer to like the girl. The sex would be better, right? You could fuck a girl you don't like. So why fuck a girl? Why prefer to fuck a girl you like? Because the experience of that is likely going to be a better experience, especially if it's something you're doing on a regular basis. So it's like, okay, if I know she can't stand me, and I didn't like any kind of kinky shit, or you're playing around, like genuine, if you know, oh, she's like, I am not attracted to him at all, he's the most unattractive thing, just get it done, kind of like, why would that decrease the sexual experiences? Because there's a part of the experience that we want the person to want us to. And so if it's like, well, I'm only fucking you because you're helping me with my bills, there's something about that that's like, you know, it's not just about me getting
I thought you were saying the opposite of what you ended up saying, but I agree with you. I don't care if I like her. She needs to like me. You know? I mean, obviously, I'm less likely to fuck a girl I don't like, but it's more important that she likes me.
Right.
From a sex perspective.
Yes.
Than that I like her.
Yeah. Because then it just feels like a blow-up doll. I mean, it just takes away the humanness of the experience, and it just feels like a doll. It doesn't even, like, as I'm imagining something, like, it doesn't even feel human. Like, you know, it doesn't feel like she's making sounds, you know, she's just fake. You know, like, it's just
and that may be a this table conversation, because I also very clear, I know men who are like, I just need a place to put my hole.
And fair enough.
You know.
You know what it might be too? Well, I think there's the conversation of having the option. And maybe I'm wrong about that. But it could be a byproduct of I don't have to just settle for a hole. I can get the hole and a woman that's aching for it. So if I have the option, now if I'm a guy that I don't feel like I have a lot of options for that, and I'm like, but I still need that itch scratched, and that's how your life has been for however long, and you just kind of like, you get it when you get, you know what I mean? But if you're a dude who has a consistent reputation of getting what he wants, I don't see how you then go, oh, you know, but maybe that's not true. So I don't know.
I think that is it, because I'm over here and it's somewhere in the realm of ego, validation, self-worth. Because even to the point of desiring, for me personally, even if there's a connection, you know, I sapiosexual, demisexual. I need intelligence. I need connection before I'm even interested. I want to be desired. I want the woman to desire me. And to a context where even if I'm having sex on a regular basis with a partner, I have, for me, once it's established what my needs are, if it's a conversation beyond getting you warmed up, beyond getting you turned on, if I have to, hey baby, you know, I'm over here needing it, I'm already turned off by that.
Oh, for sure.
There's something that occurs for me, and it, like I said, it can be ego and identity. I'm in my own validation conversations of, I'm either not in position, life is not circumstance, I haven't had her exhale, or I'm not turning her on in the right way. There's something for me, and I can't even play that game that I want to play for sex in the transactional, you know, let me get a dance, or let me pay a bill, or let me just get access to. I think it occurs to me, and that's just coming from a space of abundance. When you don't have options, you don't have choice. It's simply the simplicity. I need necessity, survival. I need to get this nut. This is the simplest solution. I don't have to deal with women, attitudes, things. It can look all kinds of ways, or just as simple, I'm gonna pay for it because it's an option. I can buy me a cup of water because I don't want to walk over to the fountain or do that effort.
I think that's a lot. That last one, I think, a lot of men fall into that category. Where
So you think they do that even if they had the option?
Yeah. I literally know of men who don't date. They go to, and they're good-looking buff guys because they go to swingers clubs and that's where they fuck.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that
they're not looking for a relationship. They're like, I just stand there till somebody points at me and I go fuck them and then move on. And that's how they get their rocks off.
No, not saying that they're looking for. I'm not looking for religion, but that's a very.
But
that's very.
But they're not. It's not they're not looking for value, other than
meaning any desirability from the woman.
Right. Obviously, there's probably a physical aspect that they're not gonna. Somebody who's not attractive to them, but
no, not on the recipient's end, but like they don't care where the woman stands on that, because that's what we're discussing.
No, they don't.
Okay.
No, they don't. Like,
I don't care if you like me or not. Just as long as your pussy's wet, get the lube.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
But I would argue that is a thing just because rape is a thing.
What is the thing? Because rape is a thing?
If all men needed, or most men even needed, a woman to want them, then rape would not be a thing.
Well, I think rape can be a thing if he's such in such lack. Like, I do think mutations can come out of just bitches don't want you, bro. Like, and so you get to the point where, you know, and by any means necessary. You know what I mean?
Okay,
so
fair enough.
That particular, you know, you have cases where dudes just obsessed about, you know, Becky's the one, by any means necessary kind of thing. So it doesn't even necessarily mean he can't get pussy, but maybe that particular woman, whatever about her, and just can't have her because she's with, you know, Louis or Dwayne. You know what I mean? Like, they won't let go. They tagged him now, man.
They're hurting people.
Stop tag teaming her so I can get us.
The window keeps closing too fast.
But, you know, like, so I can see just scarcity causing rape. But what you're saying is where it's like they might not be in scarcity if they really tried, but just say, "Oh, no, stick it in," you know, that's crazy.
Yeah, that whole aspect of sexuality, forced sexuality, whether it's from lack or not, because rape definitely happens from outside of those parameters you described. And that may actually bleed into the previous conversation of just an unfocused masculine.
For sure. I think we can find something to close the conversation, because it's in a realm of I'm not exactly sure what. And human psychology, what I perceive to be just at the core, hurting people hurt people, and from that context, like hurting for to be loved, to be wanted, desired. Like it's so scarce that a person is in self-inflicted pain, of feeling so devalued, worthless, that sex becomes unattainable, because it's just an exchange of love. And well, on a man's path, yes, it is much easier to be destined to never have access.
Oh yeah,
feel like unsolvable.
You have to be a monster as a woman to not have any
access. Agreed.
Because even to that point, we were saying some guys don't care at all. Like,
Somebody
find some transaction out there.
Somebody's in that shit. I don't care what. One leg with the.
You may not be able to find the relationship you're looking for, but you can definitely find the physical comfort.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're at hour 30, but it's 9. Y'all want to wrap up there? We're in rape, so.
Let's not end on rape. Let's move someplace else. Let's not end there.
We're not the same. Wait a minute. Where did it go to rape?
How did we get here? Let's go back to equal not the same.
YouTube chapters. Hour and 34 minutes. Rape. Wait a minute.
We might want to edit that whole segment out.
We actually got it for the algorithm. I don't even think that's going to let it fly. You see that podcast about rape?
The psychology of rape.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
Oh, shit.
And I will say, the only silver lining to that is a reality of grown man shit. There are adult male men out there in whatever place psychologically that becomes a part of the spectrum. No different than transaction, paying for it, no emotional connection or whatever along the spectrum. It's a factor of, and that's what we're here to talk about. It's just real shit.
That's real. Mm-hmm. There are men who are, and I guess that's fair too, there are men who are at an emotionally disconnected place where that's an option for them. Like that's whether it's the only option or not, that's an option for them. Like that's a thing.
So far gone.
Because they don't look at. I mean, I've said this years ago. When we stopped calling women sisters and aunties and mamas, and started calling them bitches and whores and hoes and whatever, we dehumanize them, which takes away the relatedness. Like you're somebody's mother, you're somebody's sister, you're somebody's cousin, something.
Before I flip it, I'll pose the question: how do y'all feel about that, calling women bitches and hoes? Like, is that
in what context?
Directly to them, or that it's just acceptable? Or what's your position on it?
There are times when it's acceptable in the bedroom for certain things.
All right, we see how Lewis is coming through. Okay, clearly.
The context question.
But again, that is woman specific, because some women ain't down for that. Some women, that turns them on. So you got to know your audience.
So if they're complete. So all right, even better. Right, so that's the element in the bedroom when a woman wants it, appropriate, it's consensual. So what about the persona of woman that, oh, I'm the baddest bitch. You better respect me. You best call me bitch. Like that where is your
In my mind, when a woman says, it's like when a black person says nigga.
Gotcha.
Like, just because you call yourself a bitch, I ain't got to call you a bitch because I don't want that heat.
Dog, what's your take?
Nah, bitch finna tear. I mean, I don't ever use it in like in a conversational sense. If I'm referencing something, like whether male or female, dude was acting like a bitch.
Yeah.
Or she was acting like a bitch. Like I use the term in like a, but I can't think of a case where I'm in conversation, like in a serious sense, and I'm like,
you bitch.
This bitch, shut up, you bitch. Like I'm not even in an antagonistic sense, because I don't. There are people who use it and it's not even in malice. It's just like, yeah, if a bitch says this, I'm like, I don't use it in that way, but I will admit I don't. It's not like a moral thing. Why I'm not. It's not like It's just doesn't naturally feels like something I'd say. I'll just say a woman. Like it's just that feels more natural.
I'm more likely to say bitch than hoe.
Hoe is like very specific.
It's very specific, very derogatory. There's no redeeming.
The way people use bitch these days, as you're saying, bad bitch women,
right?
Like there's something less, like the intent behind words matter a lot. So how I see people use, like I say, oh my nigga. Like the reason that's so different for people is because the malice isn't behind the word,
right?
And similarly, that's how I've seen people use bitch. I know you non-maliciously use hoe, but like
yo, my hoe
with love, right? Like I don't. But girls
I've actually seen white women do that. I've never seen a black woman do that. I've seen white women.
I've seen black women call, oh, that's my bitch right there.
Right, that's like, black women say bitch.
Yeah,
I've heard white women say hoe, and I don't know if it's a racial thing or.
Yeah, like so it seems to be transitioning out of like the malicious route.
Right.
But personally, I mean, if somebody uses it, like I'm checking for their intent behind the word usage of the word. If it's like coming from real hate for women, or then I'm not fucking with that. But I don't know if you guys remember Patrice O'Neal. Patrice would say bitch all the time. But that's just Patrice. He loved and hated women. Like not in any real sense where he'd harm, but like frustrated man kind of, but loved women, had a great girl at the time. But in his vernacular, he just would say, "Shut up, bitch." But that's just his. There was no malice in it,
Right.
So, and the women were never like, oh, "I can't believe she's like, shut up, Patrice." Like they'll play along with it. So I think it's just contextual. Hoe is different, Slut. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
Right. She's like, oh, stop it, Louis. Like, I don't know about the rest of them, but bitch specifically seems to have been in an interesting, fluid kind of, depending on the situation, depending on the person, depending situation.
I still go back to we need to start calling them aunties, sisters, mothers.
I don't think that's a worse thing to do, but we here and people use bitch, you know what I mean? So unless we're gonna go back and Louis to start a revolution.
I'm starting a revolution. I'm starting that revolution. Let's all be family again, yo.
I found I don't feel it as it wasn't like you say morality, like hold my chest up. I just
oh yeah, Lord, the way will never call a woman a bitch.
Never. I'm verklempt. Let me touch my pearls.
It was for me. There was just the language, purely for language for me. There's what I see, especially if it's really. All right, so 2 points. Bitches and hoes. I prefer women and ladies, queens. Like that's just what clicked for me. Well, if you're looking for bitches, because I've grown up,
I ain't looking for
raised
bitches
around
and
the
hoes.
environment, where the hoes at? All these bitches out here. And for me, that just became, as I evolved socially, there we go, social evolution, not even maturity. I just distinguish from my own energy. That's not what I'm trying to fuck with, so I'm not trying to be around that energy, period. And at the same time, it is all contextual, and I have no morality to it because I can see the same conversation with my nigga. Like, I know that same places I came from, if I'm comfortable, if I consider it family, and even the stupid, this nigga here.
Right,
Like,
right.
It's just those moments, and I get the vernacular of where it's coming from, and it's just clear as day. But it's a good question for food for thought.
I think it's kind of the point. It's like, don't take offense at it, and I am not personally looking for bitches, hoes, or niggas in my life. So I ain't calling that into my space.
Fair enough.
As I used to do this shit. We rape bitches, hoes, and niggas. Let's just change it up.
We need to work on how we conclude these, but hey, we'll get there.
Yeah, right.
We don't need to work on how we censor this shit.
We'll get there. But yeah, that's grown.
One
Man
love,
Shit
one love.
episode
That's
7.
what's up.
Episode 7, lucky number 7.
Yes, we're 7 deep. That's
Woo-woo.
consistency, baby.
7-Eleven.